Hey guys, today we are going to read some Muttley, the Puppy Place series. And so guys, we are going to get started with this book. And so guys, let's get it. Muttley. Okay, guys, yesterday I fell off the swing. I slid off of it on mistake. And now if I pause in the middle of a sentence, it's because I scraped my chin and I have a cut on my lip. So guys, it hurts really bad. And it doesn't hurt that much anymore, it just bothers me. And so guys, let's get started. Chapter 1. This way, everybody. Lizzie Peterson waved a hand, feeling like a real tour guide. She enjoyed showing people around the animal shelter where she volunteered. Lizzie had been helping out at Caring Paws, a place for dogs and cats who needed homes for over a year. She loved the work because she loved animals, especially dogs. Her usual day was Saturday, when she would spend all afternoon walking dogs, cleaning kitty litter boxes, and doing whatever else Miss Dobbins, the shelter's director, asked her to do. Lizzie worked hard, but there was always more work to do at the shelter. That was why Lizzie had started at Caring Club for people who wanted to help animals. Lizzie's best friend Maria had joined the club right away. She had recently become a shelter volunteer too. Now Daphne and Brianna, who were both in Lizzie's class at school, wanted to join the club. That was why Lizzie was showing them around the shelter. Daphne and Brianna had a lot to learn if they were going to become shelter volunteers. Miss Dobbins would be their official trainer, but she had asked Lizzie to give them a tour on their first visit. Lizzie had spent so much time at Caring Paws that she knew every inch of the place by heart. It was fun to give a tour, especially because Maria had come along too. And this is the cat room, Lizzie said now as she stopped in front of the big picture window. Duh, said Daphne, and she nudged Brianna. Brianna giggled, like I couldn't have figured out by myself. Daphne added in a whisper. Lizzie glared at Daphne. Okay, so maybe it was kind of obvious. They were standing in a hallway of an animal shelter, looking through a window at a room full of cats, black cats and orange cats, long-haired cats and skinny cats, fat cats and six-toed cats, scampering kittens and calm mama cats, and one big old gray tomcat named Tommy, who always claimed the top lounging shelf. So, yes, the room was crawling with cats. Anyone could see that it must be a cat room, but Lizzie was just trying to give a tour the way Miss Dobbins had asked. Daphne was not exactly Lizzie's favorite person, but Lizzie knew that the shelter needed needed all the help it could get. Lizzie was happy to have more caring club members. Since the club was pretty small so far, Lizzie's younger brother, Charles, was a member, and so was their mom. Their dad was too busy as a firefighter in the bean. Lizzie's older brother, Lizzie's other brother, whose real name was Adam, was too little. All the Petersons loved animals. They loved them so much that they became a foster family for puppies. That meant they took care of puppies who needed homes, just until they found each one the perfect forever family. The Petersons had lots of experience with all kinds of puppies, but the puppy they loved best was Buddy, a little brown and white dog. Buddy had started out as a foster puppy, but he ended up becoming part of the Petersons family. Lizzie had first met Buddy when he arrived at Caring Paws, along with his mother and 2 other puppies. Now, at the shelter, Lizzie smiled. Just the thought of Buddy made her heart melt. Had there ever been a cuter, sweeter puppy she loved to stroke the heart-shaped white patch on his chest and whisper secrets into his silky ears? Lizzie, Maria stuck an elbow into Lizzie's side. Weren't you showing Daphne and Brianna the cat room? Oops, Lizzie blinked. Right. She was in the middle of showing her classmates around. Yes, she said, so the cat room. Lots to do in here and there, like cleaning out litter boxes, making sure the water dishes are full and clean water, and helping out at feeding time, and sometimes I help hold the cats when the vet is giving them shots. My cat Jenny scratches them when she's at the vet, said Daphne, but if you wrap them up in a towel, that usually helps, Lizzie said. They can't scratch you then. She led her group down the hall toward the dog room, ready to meet the dogs behind her. She heard Daphne whisper to Brianna, that's just what I was about to say. We always wrap Jenny in a towel. Lizzie knew she should probably be glad that Daphne knew a few things about caring for animals, but she was the one giving the tour, wasn't she? Maybe Daphne should do more listening and less talking. Do I hear Greta barking? Maria asked. She must be ready for her walk. Yeah, that's Greta. All right, said Lizzie. She knows it's time to go out. I'll walk her, said Daphne. Where's her leash? Well, Greta can be a handful, Lizzie began. I can handle a handful, Daphne said. Just show me to her cage. We called them kennels, Lizzie said, as she pushed open the door to the dog room, and Greta's in number 1. She had to shout to be heard over the barking, and had started the second they entered the dog room. All the dogs loved to greet new visitors. Lizzie pointed to hand-painted number 1 sign, the very first kennel. They came to a special heavy-weight leash, hung from the clip of a door. Daphne looked to Greta's kennel. Then she looked at Lizzie. Lizzie smiled. Still want to take her out for a walk, she asked. Greta was the biggest dog ever to stay at Caring Paws. She was a bull mastiff with tawny gold brown coat and black markings on her huge, sweet, drooly face. Greta was gigantic. If Greta stood on her hind legs, she would be taller than Lizzie. She would probably be taller than Lizzie's dad. Lizzie saw nothing go. Then
Delphine shrugged. Sure, she said. Why not? Lizzie shrugged too. Okay then, she said. Delphine could find out for herself how hard it could be to handle Greta. Lizzie checked that the main door to the dog room was closed. Opened her kennel door just enough to get the leash clipped on. Then take her down the aisle and out that way. She pointed to the door that opened into the outside pen. Delphine squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. Then she unhooked the leash and flipped up the latch on Greta's kennel, slipping a hand inside and clipped the leash onto Greta's collar. Then she looked up at Lizzie and grinned. No problem, she said. Open the door slowly, Lizzie warned. Then she watched as Greta shoved her way out of the kennel and dragged Delphine down the aisle, barreling along like an airplane speeding down the runway. Ah! Yelled Delphine as she dashed along after Greta, handing on for her dear life. Lizzie had held back a laugh and looked at Maria. Maria shook her head at Lizzie. Lizzie knew that Maria was thinking Lizzie probably should have told Delphine that Greta did not know how to walk on a leash without pulling with the strength of an ox. 10 minutes later, as Lizzie was showing Brianna how to wash out the dog's water bowls, Greta towed Delphine back inside. The knees of Delphine's jeans were covered in mud. Her jacket sleeve was torn, and her hair was tousled and tangled. Isn't Greta terrific? Lizzie asked as she opened the big dog's kennel door for Delphine. Terrific, said Delphine. Just terrific. She brushed the mud off her knees. Who's next? Lizzie realized that Delphine was not going to admit that Greta had been too much for her. Well, she had another challenge for her. Then it was important to make sure that the new volunteers would handle anything. A much quicker, quieter dog, she said. A puppy, actually. His name is Muttley. Chapter 2. While Maria helped Brianna get another dog ready for a walk, Lizzie led Delphine down to the kennel number 4. This is Muttley, she said. Inside the kennel, a tan and brown puppy lay curled on his green bed. He had floppy ears, a black nose, and a cute brown eyebrow-shaped markings above his eyes. He's cute, said Delphine. Hi, Muttley. Muttley opened one brown eye to look at Delphine. Then he sighed, stretched out his legs, and went back to sleep. What breed is he? Said Delphine. He's a mix, said Lizzie. He's part German Shepherd and part Walker Hound. I knew it. Second I saw him, Lizzie was practically memorized the dog breeds of the world poster on her bedroom wall. He's only about 6 months old. He'll be a medium-sized dog when he grows up. Hey, cutie, said Delphine. Molly's eyebrow twitched, but he did not wake up. Muttley loved to sleep. Every single time Lizzie came to the shelter, Muttley was asleep. He did not jump up like the other dogs. He did not put his paws on the wire door of his kennel and beg for treats. He did not play with any of the toys in his kennel. He just lay on his green bed snoozing. He wasn't a sad dog. His tail would thump on the floor. Then anybody came by. And he was always happy to see Lizzie. He just liked to sleep sometimes. He snored a little. Once in a great while, he would sit up, look around, and let out a deep, hoarse bark that trailed off into the low, mournful ow of the hound howl. Then he would circle his bed 3 of 4 times and settle back in for a nap. He's not as lively is he. Daphne stared at Muttley's kennel. Lizzie shook her head. Is something wrong with him? Daphne asked. I mean, is he sick? Lizzie shook her head again. The vet checked him out when he first came, and she looked over again last week because he all wondered why he's so sleepy. But she says he's completely healthy. How long has he been here? Daphne bent down and stuck a finger through the wire mesh to scratch Muttley's head. Muttley sniffed in his sleep, but he didn't open his eyes. About 3 weeks, Lizzie said. She felt bad for Muttley. When people came to look for a dog to adopt, they liked to see one who sat up and looked back at them. Nobody liked dogs who jumped and barked their heads off, but nobody seemed to like this quiet puppy either. Lizzie could sort of understand that. What was the point of adopting a puppy who was going to do nothing but sleep, sleep, sleep? Anyway, want to walk him? He definitely needs to get outside, sure. Daphne unhooked the blue leash from Muttley's kennel door, flipped up the latch, and stepped inside and clipped the leash onto his collar. Muttley didn't get up. He rolled over with a groan. Come on, Muttley, said Daphne. Don't you want to go for a walk? She tugged on the leash, and Muttley groaned again and put a paw over his head. Leave me alone. I'm sleepy. Lizzie giggled. She could just imagine what Muttley was thinking. Daphne frowned. How can I get him going? Maybe if. Lizzie interrupted. Sometimes if you have a treat, he gets interested. She reached into her pocket for one of the mini biscuits she always carried when she was at the shelter and handed it to Daphne. That's what I was about to say. Daphne tossed her head. How about a cookie, Muttley? Daphne said encouraging way. Want a biscuit? She held it to her nose. Muttley took the biscuit very gently from her hands, crunched it, and swallowed. Then he sighed, tucked legs in more comfortably, and settled back for more napping. Daphne blew a breath up toward her bangs. Just pick 'em up, Lizzie said. Daphne frowned at Lizzie. I was going to. She knelt down and pulled the lazy little puppy into her arms. Not like that, Lizzie said. Hold him underneath his tummy. Daphne glared. My cousin is a vet, she said. She showed me how to hold a puppy. She said this way is fine, but she shifted the puppy in her arms. Okay, Muttley, I guess I'm going to have to carry you out. Muttley barely opened his eyes as she carried him down the aisle and out the door. Brianna and Maria were done walking dogs, so while Daphne walked Muttley, Lizzie showed Brianna how to hose down an empty kennel to clean it out and get it ready for the next dog. There was always a next dog at the shelter. That was the sad thing. There were so many unwanted pets in the world. When Daphne came back in, Muttley walked next to her on the leash. He yawned as she let him into his kennel, and he headed straight for his bed. Phew, glad that's over. Phew, glad that's over. I'm ready for a nap. All girls gathered at his kennel to look in on the sleepy pup. He's really adorable, said Brianna. I can't believe nobody has adopted him yet. Miss Dobbins had just came into the dog room. He joined the girls at Muttley's kennel. People like to see a puppy with some pep, she said. I think he's just a little mellow for most folks. I'm beginning to worry about him. He needs to get a home soon while he's young so he can learn about living with people. Why doesn't your family take him? Daphne asked. Lizzie, don't you foster puppies all the time? Lizzie nodded. We had another puppy with us when Muttley first got here, she said. And then, I don't know. I guess I just didn't think of it. She looked at Muttley. He really was cute, but he had not exactly captured her heart. Maybe she was like the people Miss Dobbins talked about, the people who had liked puppies with energy and personalities. Muttley was so quiet that it was almost easy to forget he was there. That's a great idea, said Miss Dobbins. I hate to see Muttley stay here too much longer. Maybe being in a home, especially a home with a lively puppy like Buddy, would help get him energized enough that someone will want to adopt him permanently. Maybe, said Lizzie, but I'd have to ask my parents. It might not be a good time. My mom's away. She drove down to North Carolina to visit her sister. She felt a pang as she spoke. She had been so busy at the shelter that she had nearly forgotten that Mom would not be there. When she got home, Mom had left the day before, Monday, and she wouldn't be back until the next Monday. A week was a long time. But Mom's sisters, Lizzie's Aunt Julie, had just had a big operation. She needed Mom's help. Lizzie nearly forgot about Muttley until it was time to go. There was so much to show to others and to explain about dogs and their behavior. But when Dad came to pick Lizzie and Maria up, Miss Dobbins told him about Muttley. About Muttley. Dad came back to the dog room to check him out. Hey there, pal. Dad looked into the kennel. Muttley opened one eye and looked up at Dad. He thumped his tail. He doesn't look much of a troublemaker. I think we can handle him. Even with Mom away, I bet we can find this boy a home before she even gets back. We'd be happy to take him, right, Lizzie? Lizzie looked at Muttley. He was the most exciting puppy in the world, but he sure was adorable. Plus, Lizzie reminded herself about Bear, a husky her family had fostered. He seemed sleepy and lazy at first, too, but Lizzie had fallen in love with him, just as she fell in love with every puppy her family fostered. Why should Muttley be exception, right? She said. Chapter 3. At lunchtime at school the next day, Maria said, Lizzie, how Muttley was doing. He's fine, I guess, Lizzie asked. The lid had just peeled off her applesauce. She liked to eat her dessert first at lunch. All he does is sleep, sleep, sleep. I've been calling him Sleepy because he reminds me of a dwarf in Snow White. You know, the one who can barely keep his eyes open? Maria laughed. What about Buddy think? Buddy's confused, said Lizzie. He loves to play with other puppies, but Muttley doesn't want to play much. She finished her applesauce and unwrapped her sandwich, turkey on whole wheat. Didn't Dad know she hated turkey sandwiches? Mom never gave her turkey. There must be something to love about Muttley. Maria held up her sandwich, tuna on pita bread. With a questioning glance, Lizzie nodded. The girls traded. Well, he is incredibly cute, and Dad thinks he's actually really smart. Lizzie said, he can tell by the way Muttley makes eye contact when you talk to him. That means he looks you right into the eye, at least when he's awake. That is, she added. That's the German Shepherd in him, I bet. She took a bite of a sandwich. Anyway, Dad thinks it will be easy to find a home for Muttley. I hope he's right. My mom wasn't that happy to hear that he agreed to take a foster puppy while she was gone. She said she was ready for a break from fostering for a while and hoping to come back to a one puppy household. We had to promise to find Muttley a home before she gets back. Lizzie looked up and saw Daphne and Brianna on their way out of the lunch line. They carried their trays to the table and sat down across from Lizzie and Maria. Lizzie did her best not to make a face when she saw the gross shepherd's pie on their face. She would rather have a turkey sandwich any time. So when are you coming to Carrying Paws again? Daphne and Brianna looked at each other. Actually, we can't make it any time soon, said Daphne. Right, said Brianna. We're both kind of busy. Maybe you shouldn't count on us for help at the shelter, Daphne said. Yeah, I'm not sure I have time to be in Caring Club either, added Brianna. What do you mean? Why not? Asked Lizzie. Neither girl answered. Lizzie looked at Maria. Maria didn't look back at her. At that moment, Maria seemed very interested in her sandwich. Well, fine. Lizzie turned back to Daphne and Brianna. Whatever. If you don't want to be in the Caring Club and help animals, I won't force you. There are plenty of other kids who want to join. She didn't mention that most of the other kids were little Charles' friends. So what? Even little kids could help animals. I'll come. I heard about your club. I want to be in the Caring Club. Lizzie looked up to see who was talking. Oh, no. Hi, Jimmy, she said. Right now, the club is kind of full, but I love animals. Jimmy squeezed his way onto the bench next to Brianna, knocking a half full of carton of chocolate milk off her tray. Oops, said Jimmy. Sorry, Brianna. I'm really sorry. He jumped up to grab a bunch of paper towels and smeared the chocolate milk all over the table and the floor. This was exactly why Lizzie didn't want Jimmy Johnson to be in the club. It was bad enough to have him in her class, where he was always distracting everyone. He talked all the time and jumped up and knocked things over. Lizzie, even when he sat still, he had to jiggle something. His legs wouldn't move like the needle of a sewing machine, or a pencil in his hands would tap, tap, tap on the desk. Some days it seemed as if Mrs. Absinthe said, it's someone else's turn to talk. Jimmy, that's not classroom behavior. Lizzie knew Jimmy didn't mean to be the way he was. Jimmy didn't mean to be the way he was. Maybe there's another club you could join, she said. But I'm really good with dogs. My gramps calls me, Jimmy began. But just then the bell rang, and it was time to line up and head back to class. Maybe you shouldn't say no to him so fast, Maria whispered. And Lizzie, as they tossed their sandwich scraps into the composting bin. Are you kidding? Lizzie whispered back. He'd make the animals nuts with all that energy. Maria shrugged. Maybe, she said as she balled up her lunch bag and tossed it into the trash. But I bet Miss Dobbins wouldn't mind the extra help. And if Daphne and Brianna aren't going to be in the cannon club, then you might wish you had some other members. Oh, they'll come back, Lizzie said as she and Maria took their places in line behind Miss Absent by the cafeteria doors. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Maria said. Lizzie looked at her. Why? Maria was busy looking at her sneakers. Maria, why don't they want to be in the club? Do you know something I don't know? Lizzie stared at her friend until Maria finally met her eyes. They think, well, I heard that Daphne said you're a bossy know-it-all. And Maria quickly and very quietly. Then she looked back down at her sneakers. Bossy B? Miss Abbins waved. Let's go, kiddos, she called. She walked out of the cafeteria, leading her class down the hall, and stood up the stairs. Leading her class down the hall and up the stairs, back to the room. But Lizzie stood still, when her hands on her hips. It was almost funny that Daphne had said that. Daphne Drake was the one who was a know-it-all, and she was the biggest know-it-all in the 4th grade. Come on, you've got to be kidding. All I did was show them around the shelter, Maria shrugged. I guess it was too so much. What you did as how you did it. You can't help the shelter, and about animals, and about the best ways to take care of them, and tugged Lizzie's sleeve. Come on, Maria. Pulled Lizzie down the hall, following Miss Absent and the rest of their class. Right, and I was trying to share what I know. What's so wrong with that? Lizzie shook